Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Thor Ragnarok HELA figure, which looked fantastic in the trailer. I gotta say, the character looks great. I was very excited to see the way they turned her out into a real-life person, and now the figure is almost equally as cool. They just did a phenomenal job. So we have some things to point out that are really good, a couple things that might not be so great, but overall, this is probably the best figure of the wave, so just kind of ruin the whole point of the review by saying that, but that's okay. We're going to look at it all. I think you guys should stick around to see it because it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This figure stands just about 18 and a quarter centimeters, which makes it just about 7 and a quarter inches. And that's one of the things that is not great about this figure, unless it turns out that she is artificially tall in the movie. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do that. I'm quite sure the actress is not that tall, but she is very, very large. Let me grab Thor, you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, this may be accurate, but she stands up pretty much the same height as Thor. So I'm curious if that's how it's going to be in the movie. If not, that is a bit of an issue, but it's not one that's terribly problematic. It's not a huge deal. What is a huge deal is the figure looks fantastic. It's entirely sculpted. The whole thing is textured, but then it also has all this green kind of armor throughout. And it's painted with this really nice metallic green, and it's very, very clean. Very well done. Exceptionally well painted. Except I didn't paint the back on mine. I'm wondering, is that how it is for everyone else? Or is it just mine because I have the worst luck in the world? I'm curious. You guys can let me know. One thing to point out, the forearms actually have separate pieces that are glued on. Or maybe they're molded that way. I'm pretty sure, yeah, they're glued on. And that actually gives you some depth. There's a hollow space in there, which is really, really cool. I like that they did that a whole bunch. Before we talk about the figure anymore, though, let's talk about accessories. We do have the two different heads. We have the unmasked/helmeted head. Very nicely detailed. I love the sculpt on the hair. Love the sculpt on the face. And even the paint job on the face looks very good. Very, very pleased with that. And then we do have the helmeted head, which is equally well done. Though the face sculpt might not be quite as good, the paint is clean, and then the helmet sculpt, lots of different pieces glued together, but it is executed fantastically. I love it. We do have her little sword, which is very warped out of the package, but it is nicely detailed. No paint though, just solid black plastic. Her cape is pretty cool. It's sculpted well enough. It does lean to one side, so I'm not sure if that's how it's going to be in the movie, and if it's not, that's a bummer, but if it is, then that's okay. I like the way it pegs into the back and then has a little painted parts on the top which wrap around her shoulders. That looks very cool, though it doesn't stay on her exceptionally well. It's probably good enough, so I like that. Now, as far as the figure goes, let's talk about the articulation. I pretty much covered the sculpt and paint are all really, really good. The head is probably a little bit too high on the neck. It stands out less with the hair version. The helmeted head stands out a little bit more. And it's mostly just because of the articulation, but it's not so much so that it's an issue. In fact, if you look at it, it's just a tiny bit high. It's not too bad, so that's okay. Full range, so it's on a ball peg with a hinge, so you can move it around just fine. And then, of course, it does have lollipop syndrome, so you can offset it however much you want, and then you can totally make it look like her head's coming out of her neck. But if you don't try to do that, you can pretty much ignore it with this figure, luckily, so that's good. For the shoulders, we do get pretty good range. They come all the way out to the side, no problem at all. Full rotation, so that's good. No bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, slightly better than 90 degrees with the rotation, so I do like that. Her wrist has a swivel and a hinge for this hand, which is nice. So you can do that pose from the trailer where she grabs the hammer, so that's cool. And on this hand, it's her gripping hand. She has a vertical hinge so that she can hold her sword appropriately, so I do like that. The diaphragm joint on this figure is definitely its biggest drawback. It doesn't lean forward very far at all, and as you can see, there's a huge gap, and the way it's sculpted is problematic because even when she's in her neutral pose, you can still see the gap. It's not good. You have to lean her pretty far back, and then you even have to fight over that lip back there to get her torso to look the way it's supposed to. So she has to lean back, so that's not good at all, and it is very limited articulation. You're pretty much just going to get your rotation and a little bit of lean side to side, but it's just floppy. So that's not a great joint at all. Luckily, you can kind of ignore it with the cape on. Just leave her face or her chest forward a little bit, but what are you going to do? Her hips, not so far out to the side, but probably enough. Going forward, again, not quite as far as they could go, but definitely sufficient. It'll do. Thigh swivel works just fine. Double jointed knees work just fine. No problems there. Ankle hinge goes all the way back. They only go a little bit forward, so that's kind of a bummer. But you do get your ankle rocker, which is pretty crooked, but it is there. I do like the sculpt of the feet. It's very organic looking. They did a good job not making it look like she's wearing slippers, so I think that's pretty cool. So ultimately, there are a few drawbacks with this figure, but it is still, for the most part, very, very well done. I'm very pleased with it, and I think it's probably the best one in the wave. So I would definitely recommend you pick it up. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.